Single mom struggles to buy her daughter's medicine, then a CEO reveals a devastating secret. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the crumbling sidewalks of Franklin Street. It was a typical afternoon in Crestwood, but for Nora, the single mother fighting for her little girl's life, everything felt like a waking nightmare. She could feel the weight of despair sitting heavy in her chest, and the lines on her young face told a story of sleepless nights. Her daughter, Emily, just 7 years old, was counting on her. The small bottle of medicine they desperately needed sat at the pharmacy, mocking her with its unattainable price. How could something so small cost so much? Across town, the rich weren't just living in luxury, they were also wrapped up in secrets. The CEO of Gentech, a pharmaceutical company that had made billions, was throwing a lavish gala that night. Nora couldn't help but wonder what hidden truths hid behind those velvet ropes and sparkling chandeliers. Who were these people, sipping wine and laughing, while families like hers struggled to survive? It felt grotesque and wrong. Rage simmered within her, fueling her desperate thoughts. As she stood there, watching Emily play in the park, joyfully oblivious to her mother's worry, an old woman approached. "You look troubled, dear," she said, her eyes piercing through Nora's facade. "The cost of that medicine, it's all tied to power and greed, isn't it?" The woman's voice trembled slightly, leaving Nora breathless. Did she know something? The park buzzed with laughter, but it felt like an eerie backdrop, too bright for the darkness tangled in Nora's heart. She turned to look at Emily, the tiny girl with wild curls, running carefree. But that laughter was about to meet a chilling truth, one that could change everything. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Just then, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, a stark contrast to the soft rustle of the leaves. A notification from a news outlet. "CEO of Gentech shockingly steps down amid controversy." Nora's heart raced. What was happening? Could this be linked to their medicine? With hands trembling, she clicked the link, desperate for answers. The headline continued, "Major scandal unfolds as whistleblower comes forward." The woman from earlier flashed in her mind. Who was this whistleblower? What dark secrets lay beneath those shining smiles? Nora's chest tightened. This could be at the hint of hope, or perhaps even a grand conspiracy that snared her family in its sinister web. Just as she pieced thoughts together, the laughter around her dulled, replaced with an electric tension. Emily darted towards her, eyes wide. "Mom! Look!" Nora's breath caught, the world falling away. All she could think was, here was a moment teetering on the edge, ready to plunge them into the unknown. What would she discover next? Emily's tiny hands tugged at Nora's sleeve, her face illuminated with excitement. "Mom! Look what I found!" She held out a crumpled piece of paper, dirt smudged on its edges. At first, Nora thought it was just a piece of litter, but then she recognized it, an old flyer for the gala. "What do you have there, sweetheart?" Nora knelt down, her heart racing. Could it be important? Could it lead her to whatever secrets lay behind the walls of that glamorous event? "Show me," Nora urged, her eyes scanning the faded ink. As Emily unfolded it with care, Nora leaned closer, the noise of the park fading away. Beneath the colorful graphics, there was a date and an address, but it was the tiny print at the bottom that caught her breath. "For inquiries about sponsorship and partnerships, contact." But one name stood out among the rest, a woman named Dr. Miranda Wu, a name she'd seen before linked to Gentech in articles about research and development. Could the answer to her desperation be as close as this? "Emily, you're a genius!" Nora exclaimed, hugging her daughter tightly. But her heart thumped harder, realizing how risky it would be to chase this lead, to confront the towering giant that was Gentek. What if it backfired? Can we go find that lady? Emily blurted out, her innocent curiosity unwavering. Not right now, Nora replied, determination flaring. But soon. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue around them, Nora felt a renewed sense of purpose. This wasn't just about saving money for medicine anymore. It was about uncovering the truth. She made a mental note to research Dr. Wu later. Maybe she could lead her to some information about the costs and the scandal. It needed to be exposed, and the world couldn't turn a blind eye any longer. Many more mothers were fighting battles like hers. As they walked back home, the park feeling brighter, Nora's thoughts churned with possibilities. She could work 2 jobs and struggle for some months, but she could also take a chance, risk it all for Emily's health. Little did she know that her decision to dig deeper would send ripples resonating far beyond her immediate struggles, ensnaring the power plays at Gentek and dragging them into the light. After settling Emily down for bed, Nora spent the remaining hours of the night poring through articles and social media threads, searching for every scrap of information on Dr. Wu. She felt the tension in her gut tightening as pieces started to click. Gentek's recent controversies surged like tidal waves, drowning in allegations from employees, patients denied access to life-saving medications, and whispers of a cover-up that echoed through the industry. But just as she began to feel confident, a sharp knock pierced the night air, sending icy fingers down her spine. Who could it be at this hour? Her heart raced as she crept to the window, heart thundering in her chest. Could this be about the gala? Before she could process, she saw the outline of a figure, a man in a suit, holding something in his hands. Whatever he carried would be crucial. "What do you want?" she called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "Miss Nora Sullivan?" he replied, his voice even but laced with urgency. "Yes," she replied hesitantly, trying to gauge who he was. "You need to see this," he insisted, thrusting an envelope toward her, sealing their fates with the promise of knowledge and danger. Nora's breath hitched, knowing the answer to her survival was now only a few steps away. Would it reveal help or doom? What lay within those pages could change everything. What followed could not only save Emily's life but might also threaten them both. What would she uncover when she opened that envelope? Nora hesitated, the envelope hovering just beyond her reach like a storm cloud ready to burst. She glanced back at the cozy darkness of her home, where Emily slept peacefully. The man outside took a step closer, concern etched on his face. "Please, Ms. Sullivan. You need to read this. It's important," he urged, his eyes darting nervously over his shoulder. She scanned his features, clean-cut, poised, but shadows lurked behind his calm exterior. Was this a setup? Nora swallowed hard, pulling open the window just enough to grasp the envelope. The paper felt dense and heavy in her hands, as though containing the weight of the world's secrets. With her heart pounding, she tore it open, glancing at the man one last time before delving inside. A single sheet slipped out, the bold typeface barely giving her pause. The headline read, "Gentek's Hidden Practices, a Grave Threat to Patients." Her breath caught in her throat. Did she really want to dive into this? "I can't promise you'll like what you find," he said, his voice lowered, almost conspiratorial. "Why are you giving this to me?" she asked, her instincts screaming for caution. "Because I believe you deserve to know the truth. Women like us, we can't let them hide behind their walls anymore." His intensity drew her in, though a thread of fear knotted tightly in her stomach. Nora's eyes flitted down the page, absorbing the narrative. Multiple scandals implicated Gentek in unethical practices, disregarding test results, manipulating data to downplay the risks, even throwing patients' lives into jeopardy for profit. Each sentence lodged like a stone in her chest, eventually drawing her gaze back to the man standing below. "People are afraid. That's why you've got to be careful," he continued. "But if you pursue this," he glanced back again, scanning the street, "you'll reveal the truth. It can't remain buried." "Who are you?" she asked, trying to take control, hoping to find some comfort in his story. "A whistleblower. Someone who saw the rot beneath the surface," he replied, his resolve unwavering. "I wasn't brave enough to take it public. But I've seen mothers like you fight, and it gives me hope. Her heart raced. This was her moment, the connecting piece of the puzzle she had been searching for. But how far was she willing to go? The road ahead was dark, fraught with unknown dangers. Her instinct urged caution, yet she felt the flickering embers of hope. With Emily's life hanging in the balance, she couldn't back down. She needed answers. Nora focused back on the young man. He held her gaze with a mix of concern and determination, almost a rallying cry. If you want to change things, you have to start here, he said, gesturing at the envelope in her hands. But just as she nodded, a chill swept through her as headlights approached down the street, cutting through the night like a knife. A black SUV pulled up and parked a few feet away, the engine rumbling ominously. Get inside, now, he urged, his tone snapping from urgency to alarm. Nora's pulse quickened as she realized the danger closing in. The cozy warmth of her home faded behind her, replaced by the stark reality of a threat looming over them both. As she turned to slip inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that something far more dangerous was coming. What had she unleashed by unwittingly stepping into this battle? Would this revelation steer them towards safety or deeper into danger? The questions loomed heavier than the night air as shadows danced ominously in the glow of the headlights, signaling a confrontation that was quickly approaching. How much was she willing to gamble on revealing the truth? Nora darted back into the house, the heavy door closing behind her with a thud that resonated through the quiet darkness. The envelope, trembling in her hands, felt alive with every pulse of her heart. She bolted to Emily's room, peeking in just as a wave of overwhelming protectiveness swept over her. Emily lay undisturbed, a peaceful angel asleep in her bed. The soft rise and fall of her chest provided a stark contrast to the urgency thumping in Nora's veins. What if this was all a setup? A ploy to lure her away from her daughter? She hoisted the envelope and unfolded the paper on the bedside table, her eyes desperately searching for clues. The words blurred, the weight of knowing pressing heavily on her mind. Gentek was cloaked in darkness, and now, so was she. How would she fight against such a giant? Each breath she took was shallow, her options dwindling with every tick of the clock. Outside, the engine of the SUV sputtered as the man paced, his shadow casting long across the lawn. He was still there, still waiting. Did he even care about Emily? Or was he just using her for his agenda? But something in those penetrating eyes had ignited a spark of hope inside her. He believed in something bigger than himself, and that alone made her waver. She couldn't shake the instinct that the envelope held the key to a new freedom, or something even more dangerous. Nora! A low voice called, startling her from her thoughts. It was the whistleblower. She rushed to the window, barely parting the curtain and catching a glimpse of him mixing urgency with fear. "They're looking for me," he whispered, glancing back toward the SUV. "You need to decide. Now." With every passing moment, the weight of the decision pressed down on her. Was she really prepared to step into this world? "I can't leave Emily," she whispered. His eyes softened with understanding. "Then you need to bring her." "They don't know you have this," he said, nodding toward the envelope. "But if you keep it with you, it's your lifeline." A knot formed in her stomach. Was this really the only way to protect her daughter? The walls of safety around her crumbled like burnt toast as she considered the danger of stepping out into the night. Suddenly, a loud knock vibrated through the door, sharp and authoritative. "Nora Sullivan! We know you're in there!" The voice was cold, threatening a command for obedience that sent chills racing down her spine. Panic surged from the pit of her stomach. "Who is it?" she shouted, trying to keep her voice steady despite the tremor. "Authorities," came the clipped reply. "We have questions about Gentek." "Let us in." Nora's mind reeled. Had they seen the envelope? Would they confront her with what they knew? The air felt thick, suffocating her with dread. She couldn't let them take her, couldn't he let them get to Emily. 5 seconds. The voice barked, finality lacing every word. As the seconds ticked away, her heart raced. Did she fight? Did she run? Clutching the envelope against her chest, she spun back toward Emily. Whatever came next would be a gamble, a risky bet that teetered on the edge of disaster. In that instant, everything crystallized in Nora's mind. It was time to decide. "Emily, wake up!" she hollered, knowing with every syllable that the game was only just beginning. And outside, the SUV doors creaked open, shadows spilling out into the night, eager to find their prize. What had she summoned into her life? Would they find what she was hiding, or would they turn the darkness on her instead? Nora's heart hammered in her chest as Emily stirred in her bed, her sleepy eyes fluttering open. Panic bubbled just beneath the surface, the urgency of the moment amplifying the chaos in her mind. She knelt beside her daughter's bedside, forcing herself to speak softly. "Honey, you need to wake up. We have to go." Emily squinted, still caught in the web of dreams. "Mommy? What's wrong?" The clock on the wall ticked audibly, each second plunging Nora deeper into the abyss of uncertainty. The knocking persisted, growing more insistent, echoing in her ears like a siren's song. "Emma, please hurry." She glanced at the door, picturing the authority figures ready to storm inside, ready to rip apart the fragile safety she had wrapped around them. Emily blinked again, realization dawning. "But I'm tired." "Sweetheart, there's no time." We're another knock, harder this time, and Nora felt the house tremble around her. "Nora Sullivan! This is your last chance," they barked. "Open the door." "Mom!" Emily's voice cut through the haze of fear. "I don't want to go." Her small hand reached for Nora's, searching for the comfort that had always been there. "I know, baby, but we have no choice. We have to leave." Nora's voice cracked, but she fought to maintain control. With trembling fingers, she grabbed Emily's arm, gently urging her to sit up. Suddenly, movement outside caught her eye. The man from the SUV was now speaking urgently to another figure, and Nora's breath caught in her throat. A woman, equally imposing, gestured toward the house. They were coordinating, plotting. "Mommy? Who are they?" Emily asked, her small voice trembling. "No one. Just stay close to me." Nora took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. She rummaged through the bedside drawer, filled with keepsakes and old toys, until her fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, Emily's old flashlight. She handed it to her daughter. "Here. Hold this tight." Just as she breathed a sigh of relief, the door shook under another insistent knock. The time for quiet was gone. They had no more time to waste. "Okay, listen, Emily. We are going to run to the back door. Can you do that? You must trust me." For once, Emily didn't protest. She nodded, her grip tightening around the flashlight. "Good girl," Nora whispered. They crept toward the back of the house, moving silently through the hallway. Every creak of the floorboards felt like an alarm ringing out. Nora pressed her ear to the wall, hearing hushed voices outside, the strangers at her doorstep growing ever closer. On the count of 3. 1, 2, a deafening crash sounded, jolting her upright. The front door splintered under a powerful kick, sending splinters flying. 3. Nora shouted, her voice steady as she yanked open the back door. Emily darted out first, her little legs pounding against the ground as they raced into the overgrown backyard, the moonlight casting eerie shadows in the corners of their escape. Just then, a voice called out from behind them. "Nora! Stop! It's not what you think." The man, the whistleblower, was sprinting towards them, eyes wide with desperation. Hope and suspicion tangled in Nora's chest. "Don't trust him," she hissed. "Keep running." But as she turned, as their paths collided, a sudden clarity hit her. Who was he really? What did he know? Questions spiraled in her mind, each one like a heavy anchor pulling her down. Was now the time to confront him? Behind them, the house echoed with urgency now, authority figures flooding through her front door, searching, chasing. Would they be caught? Would they turn back, or was this their only path to freedom? With her heart pounding and the air cool against her skin, Nora chose to decide now or never. As they pressed on into the darkness, a singular thought anchored itself in her mind. What if amid the chaos, the truth she buried deep within herself was waiting to emerge, haunting her every step, But before she could put it into words, the ground beneath her feet trembled again, and the future twisted ominously ahead. Where would this path lead them? What secrets lay in wait around the corner? Nora propelled forward, each stride fueled by adrenaline, while Emily clung to her side, flashlight illuminating their path through the darkness. Shadows loomed like specters, dancing with every beam, but there was no time to be scared. Keep running, Em, Nora urged, her voice steady but urgent. They dashed past the edge of the yard, an overgrown fence blocking their escape into the woods beyond. In the distance, sirens wailed, merging with the frantic pounding of her heart. Mom! Emily's voice cracked, straining against the rhythms of panic. Where are we going? Anywhere but here, Nora replied, forcing her legs to pump faster. She risked a glance back. The man was gaining on them, his face a mask of earnestness. A flicker of uncertainty passed through her. What if he was there to help? Yet the shadows of doubt tightened around her like a python. He had come out of nowhere, just when things began to spiral out of control. No. She wouldn't stop. Not now. Another crash echoed behind them, the sound of footsteps barreling into the backyard. They didn't have any time to spare. Mommy! I'm scared, Emily cried out. Nora felt a lump rise in her throat. She needed to stay strong. I know, sweetie. Just a little farther. The woods were just ahead, an escape route cloaked in darkness, promising uncertainty but also freedom. As they neared the tree line, the man shouted again, Nora! Please! You need to listen to me. The intensity in his voice made her hesitate. Did he really have something to say? A fresh burst of chaos erupted behind them. A voice, amplified and commanding, rang out, cutting through the panic. Nora Sullivan! Stop where you are! A chill threaded down Nora's spine. She darted into the trees, pulling Emily with her. Branches clawed at their faces, but the dense thicket offered a sanctuary, at least for the moment. They stumbled deeper into the woods, breathless, the urgency mounting with each passing heartbeat. Mom! Why are we hiding? Emily whispered, fear and confusion swirling in her small voice. Nora crouched behind a thick trunk, her pulse racing faster than a freight train. Because they want to take us away, Emily. But I won't let that happen. The words felt sharp and true, like pinpricks of certainty amidst the chaos. Still, she could hear shouts in the distance, the sound of figures breaking through the underbrush, searching. She fought to calm her racing mind, pushing back the fear that threatened to consume her. If only she knew what they wanted, what secrets this whirlwind of terror was hiding. Was it just her past coming back to haunt her, or was there a deeper truth tied to these strangers on their heels? In the dim light filtering through the leaves, Emily's eyes glimmered with apprehension. What if they get us? Nora cupped Emily's face, searching her daughter's gaze, looking for strength as much as comfort. They won't. I promise. We'll find a way. As the voices grew louder and the brush shifted behind them, something rustled from deeper in the woods. Nora's grip tightened, the shift from forest tranquility to impending danger electrifying the air. She squinted into the shadows. Something or someone was watching them. The ground beneath her felt unstable. Were they really safe here, or was this momentary refuge only delaying the inevitable? Nora! The man's desperate voice reached through the cacophony. You have to trust me. You don't know the truth. The question hung heavily in the air should she pause to listen. The glimmering ember of hope flickered against the suffocating weight of her fears. The woods trembled again, this time not just with voices but with something darker looming, something more sinister still hidden in the shadows. Nora breathed deep, steeling herself. Whatever lay ahead, they had to face it together. But that singular truth loomed large. What if the revelation was more than just the dangers chasing them? With time slipping away, would she choose to confront the man, risking everything for answers? Or would they slip deeper into the unknown, hiding from a destiny that could change everything? Only time would tell. A chill crept through the air, curling around them like a living thing. Nora could hear her own breath, ragged and fast, drowning out the world as she pressed Emily into the cold bark of the tree. Stay quiet, she whispered fiercely. The rustling in the underbrush grew closer, punctuated by heavy footfalls. Her heart thudded like a hammer against her chest. They were behind her, she could feel it. "Mommy," Emily whimpered, squeezing her eyes shut. "I'm scared." Nora swallowed hard, the lump in her throat thickening. "I know, honey. Just keep strong. I need you to be brave for Mommy, okay?" From deeper in the shadows, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Something shifted between the trees, a glimpse of a figure tall, dark, and watching. Every instinct screamed at her to run, yet she remained frozen, heart hammering. Was it the man? But then an unexpected crack echoed nearby, followed by a low growl. Panic surged through her veins. It was not just people looking for them, something else was in these woods. "Keep down," Nora hissed, pulling Emily close. Just then, the figure stepped forward, eyes glinting in the flashlight's beam. But it wasn't he, the man. "Mom? What is that?" Emily clutched at her leg, fear etched across her small features. Nora dared another look, her breath hitching in her throat. The light flickered as she aimed the flashlight into the darkness, revealing a massive wolf, its fur matted and wild. "Oh God," she breathed, horror creeping into her chest. The wolf growled again, low and menacing. It was a sound that sent shivers rippling up her spine. Every instinct in her screamed to retreat further back into the trees. She felt trapped not just by the approaching men but now by a creature that could be a predator. Suddenly, the shouts from the group searching for them escalated. "Nora! We can help you! Just come out!" The man's voice rang clearer, but it was met with fearful urgency. "Mommy!" Emily's voice shook, flaring with desperation. "I can't take this anymore. We need to go." Nora's heart twisted at her daughter's fear. She could feel the weight of the world pressing down on her. "I won't let them take us, Em. I promise." But what if she was wrong? What if the man had a point, a truth hidden in his desperation? The idea made her stomach churn. Then a rustle from behind made her snap back to the present. The sounds of footsteps converged. There was no time left. The wolf was distracted, and the thundering sounds were getting closer. "Emily, listen to me." Nora grabbed her daughter's chin, forcing her to look her in the eye. "We're going to run. Head for the stream. If we can get to water, it can mask our scent." The child nodded, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. On a count of 3, Nora took a deep breath and whispered, 1, 2, 3. They burst from behind the tree, sprinting deeper into the thicket, dodging branches and underbrush. The wolf barked sharply behind them, a warning more than a pursuit. But time was against them, Nora could feel it. "Where are they?" came the hollered commands, panic lighting their voices. Flashlights bobbed through the trees, illuminating the chaos that surrounded them. Nora pushed through the tangled roots, adrenaline surging, but suddenly stumbled, her foot trapped. Emily lost her grip, falling beside her, her face scrunching up in pain. "Mom!" Desperation clawed at Nora. She wriggled free, yanking herself from the ground. "Get up, Em! We can't stop." But before she could help her daughter, the man appeared, skidding to a halt just a few feet away. His eyes darted between them and the voices getting closer. "Please, Nora! You have to trust me." Nothing made sense. And then, an idea struck like a lightning bolt. What if he was their only option to survive the night? But was that truth or another lie dressed in urgency? Nora hesitated, fear gripping her heart, but into the very jaws of danger, she would have to make a choice that could alter everything. We run." But doubt still flickered in her mind as the man's words resonated. What if listening to him meant sealing their fate? Would they be stepping into a trap, or towards salvation? The tension hung thick as they forged ahead into the gathering darkness, leaving behind just a whisper of uncertainty. What awaited them in the depths of the woods would soon reveal if they were running into danger or desperately racing toward the truth. Nora's legs pumped hard against the uneven ground. Every stride felt like an act of defiance against the fear tightening around her. The flashlight's beam flickered, illuminating monstrous shapes in the shadows that felt ever-present, lurking just beyond view. Each rustle in the underbrush seemed to echo louder than the last, wrapping around her with an oppressive weight. "Mommy, I can't keep running," Emily gasped, her small breaths turning into sobs. "Just a little longer, sweetie," Nora urged, stealing glances at the man who stood between them and the approaching danger. "We have to get to the stream." He motioned with urgency, fear evident in his eyes. "This way. Trust me." Nora hated the knot in her stomach that twisted tighter with every second. What if this was a mistake? What if following him led them to a trap? But with Emily's heartbeat racing beside her, and the voice of the men calling through the trees, she had to make a choice now. "Stay close," she hissed, grabbing Emily's hand as they veered to the left, away from the shouts. The terrain grew rougher, and Nora could barely hear the threat behind her over the pounding of her pulse. The man led them further into the darkness, dodging branches and stumbling over roots. But he looked back, often scanning the forest, scanning the shadows, looking for something. "Are you sure you know where you're going?" Nora demanded, her voice strained with desperation. "Just keep moving," he replied, eyes wide with urgency. Nora's breaths came hot and fast, a steady rhythm of fear fueling her forward, but it was the crackling growl from the woods that spurred them on. The wolf, she realized, wouldn't he give up so easily? Then, just ahead, the sound of rushing water reached her ears. Relief mixed with panic spun her thoughts as they broke through the last line of trees and tumbled onto the bank of the stream. "Quick! Into the water!" the man commanded, stepping in first, fanning his arms to gesture them in. Nora hesitated, gripping Emily close. It was cold, much colder than she'd expected, but they had no other options. "Go on, Em. We have to do it." With a whimper, Emily stepped forward, and Nora followed. The water quickly crept up their shins, washing over rocks and wrapping around them with the chill of reality. They were soaked now, but at least here, the scent of fear and desperation would be masked by the stream. Then, without warning, a loud splash erupted behind them. The wolf had come, right on their heels, its feral eyes glowing in the dim light. "Go! Swim!" the man shouted, pushing them toward deeper water. Nora's heart raced. They had no choice. She was willing to gamble everything just to keep Emily safe. She led her daughter further into the stream, feeling the icy grip of nature surrounding them, and as a wave crashed against their bodies, a howling bark rang out across the water, the wolf standing defiantly at the bank, growling, waiting. Nora turned to the man, fear mixed with anger. "Why are you helping us? What do you want from us? Focus! We need to keep moving upstream," he replied breathlessly as he waited beside them. But she could see the shadows shifting behind him, could feel the collective weight of danger closing in. "And what if we follow you and it's a mistake? What if you're part of their plan?" Nora felt the aching pressure to protect her daughter rising again. "Then we die trying to escape," he snapped, determination gleaming in his eyes. The chilling truth settled like a weight on her chest. They were running not just from men but from a past that tangled their lives in ways she couldn't fathom. As they swam further into the stream, the sound of shouts dwindled in the distance, but the growls of the wolf continued to echo, weaving through the trees like a reminder of their precarious survival. Just as they rounded a bend, a sudden flash lit up the darkness, a light, piercing and bright, sweeping over the water. Nora froze. "Over here!" came a commanding voice, carrying the weight of authority. Was it help? Or had their pursuers found them once again? Panic surged anew, expanding the tightness in her chest. She had to decide, and time was running out. Should they stay hidden or confront the light beckoning them forward? The moment hung like a breath on the brink of release, but the answer could plunge them deeper into peril. What choice would Nora make? And how far would she go to protect her daughter from the darkness lurking both outside and within? Nora's breath caught in her throat as the beam of light swept across the water, illuminating the chaos around her. Shadows danced on the surface, revealing silhouettes blending with the night. Would stepping into that light lead them to safety or straight into danger's arms? "Mommy!" Emily's voice pierced her thoughts, shaky and full of terror. "Stay close," Nora whispered fiercely, squeezing her daughter's hand as they pressed deeper into the cold water. The current tugged at them, a chilling reminder of how precarious their situation was. The man looked back, his eyes flickering with a blend of concern and resignation. "We have to go. Now." He was already moving toward the bank, where the light flickered like a beacon. Trust him? Nora thought, her heart pounding. Could she do that? Would that decision lead them to safety or further doom? The uncertainty tightened in her chest like a vice. Then, without warning, the commanding voice boomed again. "You're not in trouble, we can help." The flash of a flashlight illuminated his uniform, a badge of authority shimmered against his dark clothes. A flood of conflicting emotions twisted in Nora's gut. Help? It was a word laced with hope and heavy with suspicion. "What do we do?" Emily whimpered, small fingers gripping tightly around her mother's hand. "Please," the man beside her urged. "They're coming. We don't have much time." The urgency of his words ignited a flame in Nora's chest. She had to decide. Every instinct screamed at her to stay hidden, to keep from the fiery eyes of their pursuers. But as the howls of the wolf echoed, closing in, she realized that hiding would only prolong their nightmare. "Hold on tight, Emily!" she shouted over the noise, determination flooding her veins. With a quick glance back at the man, she plunged through the water toward the beam of light. The ground shifted unnervingly beneath her feet as she hurried toward him, water splashing wildly around them. Was it too late? Would they be caught? The figures at the edge of the stream began to form a group of soldiers, rifles glinting ominously as they marched toward them. Nora's heart plummeted. What now? Move! The man beside her was already propelling her forward with urgency, forcing her into the embrace of the figures in the light. "Hey! You there!" one of the soldiers barked, raising his weapon. Nora's breath seized in her throat. Fear surged, mixing with adrenaline as she prepared to shield Emily. "Stop! We're not the enemy!" the man at her side yelled, stepping between them and the soldiers. He pushed forward, unafraid, with determination in his eyes. Nora's heart raced. What was this man, who seemed to be their only hope, planning to do? Would they take them back to the darkness or lead them to salvation? "Get behind us!" another soldier commanded. The tension cracked in the air like a live wire, and time slowed. She looked down at Emily clinging to her side, terror in her wide eyes. "Trust me," Nora whispered, though doubt nagged at her every word. Was it even possible to trust anyone now? Suddenly, the growl of the wolf erupted behind them, a haunting reminder of the danger they had run from. Nora turned, heart racing as the sinister shape emerged from the dark, teeth gleaming in the moonlight, eyes blazing with hunger. "We're not alone," the man murmured, but Nora could feel the weight of the truth creeping in. Before she could process what was happening, chaos erupted. The soldiers raised their guns, and the wolf lunged. "Surrender and we can help," a soldier shouted, but did they understand the true nature of the threat? Did she? Nora felt the world tilt. She couldn't let Emily see this, couldn't let them get hurt. "Go! Swim back!" she yelled, shoving Emily toward the other bank, where shadows loomed yet again. Would trusting the soldiers be their salvation? Or was this merely the beginning of a dark entanglement from which they could never escape? As the wolf's howl meshed with the cacophony of shouting, it all faded into a surreal blur. Nora's insides twisted with the looming decision. Would she jump back into the water and run from everything, or would they stand their ground here, facing the chaos head-on? In the blink of an eye, as the wolf made its choice to charge, the shrieks of metal clashing reached a fever-pitch calling panic, and then it all spiraled into wild uncertainty. Nora's resolve hardened. They needed to get out, and she would burn through hell to make it happen. But where could she go when the ground beneath her feet felt like quicksand? And as the howl echoed toward them, one burning question pushed through the maelstrom: what lay ahead, beyond the darkness they were desperately trying to leave behind? The chaos swirled around Nora and Emily like a frigid wind, weighing heavy on their hearts and minds. As the soldiers shouted orders and the wolf lunged, her instincts kicked in. Time narrowed, they had to move. Emily, now! They plunged into the water as the soldiers organized. The wolf stood at the bank, snarling, attention shifting between them and the approaching figures. Keep moving! The whistleblower urged, pulling them toward the woods that loomed behind, dark and foreboding. The current tugged at their legs, chilling them to the bone, but urgency coursed through Nora's veins. Go, Emily! We must trust him! She gasped, her voice steadying as fear wrapped around them like tentacles. Emily nodded, her small frame shaking but determination blooming in her eyes. They surged forward, kicking through the icy water, seeking refuge from the terror chasing them. As they reached the shore and scrambled onto solid ground, Nora glanced back. The soldiers were taking position, fanning out, rifles raised. The whistleblower met her gaze, urgency etched deeply on his face. Follow me, he urged. In that moment, Nora made a decision. She had to believe in the possibility of salvation, despite the shadows chasing her. They raced into the thicket, branches clawing at their skin as they forged a path deeper into the woods. Behind them, chaos erupted, a clash of authority against nature, the soldiers shouting orders while the wolf howled in defiance. It was a cacophony that echoed through the trees, drowning out everything else. Nora's heart thundered, adrenaline fueling her. With every step, the stakes rose higher. Where are we going? Emily asked, her voice barely a whisper, tinged with fear. To the truth, Nora answered, though uncertainty gnawed at her. She didn't know the man well, didn't know what awaited them in the shadows, but she had vowed to protect her daughter and uncover whatever truth lay hidden behind the veil of greed. Once they reached a clearing, the man halted, catching his breath. We need to stop, he said, scanning the barren landscape. The distant sounds of searching figures echoed behind them. They weren't far off. Clenching the envelope in her hand, Nora felt the weight of everything crashing down. You brought us here. What now? Now we expose their lies, he said, determination igniting his eyes. If we can get the information out, we stand a chance to save families like yours. Nora hesitated, considering the enormity of what lay ahead. This was more than just her struggle now. This was about the innocent lives caught in Gentek's cruel web. But what about the danger? She asked, her voice trembling. Facing them is the only way to stop more mothers from suffering, he replied, his conviction unwavering. Just then, a sound interrupted them, a low growl. The wolf was nearer, hidden in the underbrush, emerging from the shadows. Panic surged through Nora as she gripped Emily closer. We can't go backwards. Not now. But the whistleblower raised a hand. Stay calm. Trust me. Nora felt the inertia of fear dragging her down, but she kept her head clear. The urgency pulsated in her veins. She would do anything to protect Emily. She needed answers now. They had to find a way to reveal Gentek's corruption. Suddenly, the chaos shifted. A group of soldiers burst through the trees, eyes trained, weapons drawn. Nora Sullivan, we have questions. You need to come with us. But the wolf surged forward, its primal instinct to protect asserting itself fiercely. The soldiers hesitated, caught between the perceived threat of both Nora and the animal. Run, Em! Nora shouted, pushing her daughter away to dart to the side. In that fleeting moment of sacrifice, she realized her resolve. She wouldn't just fight for herself, she wouldn't be another statistic. As the soldiers faltered and the wolf lunged, Nora grabbed hold of the envelope tight. The truth she fought for, gripping her heart with fierce urgency. Get to safety! The whistleblower yelled, stepping forward just as the wolf circled around. I will hold them off. Stay close! Nora shouted back to Emily, who clung tightly to her mother's side. But she knew she had to take action. They needed to escape the opposing forces, a clash of humans and instinct battling against progress and chaos. Nora surged forward, hearts racing in sync with the passion to reveal the hidden truth, the crooked machinations of Gentek, vowing to make the pain stop. They slipped away into the dark, but it was silence. It was a beginning to expose everything, igniting a spark of hope. And as they broke free from the branches that entangled their limbs, Nora felt the winds of change thrumming against their backs, pushing them toward a future where they'd throw the truth into the light. This was her moment. This was their moment. With every step, Nora embraced the fire of her resolve: no more hiding, no more shadows. Whatever the outcome, she'd stand for every mother, every child fighting to reclaim their lives in the face of despair. They would not be silenced. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters. True fans know how important it is to keep the story alive.